lounging, son.
Welcome back to another episode of the Comic Lounge Podcast, guys. I am your host, Golden Dill.
Golden Dill. Okay, that's fine. I can't wait to hear what you say. Is that why you're laughing? Because you don't even know?
I don't know. Colonel Ryan and the Cosmogog. Here we are, and we're back with another
book club episode.
Another book club episode.
Yeah.
And this week we're talking about Barbalien, Red Planet by Jeff Lemire, Tate Brombal, plethora of other fantastic people. Jordi Belair on colors. We have Gabriel Hernandez Walta on art. Aditya Bidikar, Aditya Bidikar on lettering. And we should shout out the editors, Daniel Chabon and assistant editor Chuck Howard.
You want to take the lead on this?
Yeah, let me take the lead on this because,
take the lead on this.
Yeah, holy shit! I picked this right, not knowing what it was about. I mean, I should have known what it was about because it was Barbalien. But this is perfect because, like, as of when we're recording this, we're right smack dab in the middle of Pride Month. This was absolutely beautiful. This is a story of Barbalien in the 80s in Spiral City during the AIDS epidemic and the early stages of middle of the AIDS epidemic, I want to say. Middle of the AIDS epidemic, and everything's going crazy. There's a lot of religious fanaticism, like pointing fingers at saying that's a sin. And there's a lot of, anti-gay rhetoric going on through police force. There's this whole atmosphere of just fucking hate, right? And right in the middle of it, we have Barbalien, who is trying to figure who he is and what he is. And it's crazy because this is one of the most, this is so well told and so relevant. Everything that's been going on for as long as I've known about it, for as long as I've known about, I think my first experience with like anything LGBTQ related was Philadelphia, but with Tom Hanks, right? And it was about a lawyer and he got AIDS during the mid '80s, and this is in that same time frame. And what I love about this is not only are we getting his struggles with homosexuality in himself, but we're also getting a struggle between him being a Martian living on Earth and how that makes him feel and how crazy it is for him to like not be himself. Because a lot of what this book talks about is just being able to be yourself freely and not have to worry about
hate or ridicule.
Or ridicule or harm. And I couldn't suggest another book that's perfect for Pride Month. If superheroes are your thing, this is the book that you need to read for Pride Month, or just need to read. Period. Like there shouldn't be.
You shouldn't limit yourself.
You shouldn't limit yourself to reading Pride stuff during Pride Month.
Yeah,
like you should.
Same thing like how I felt like when we, during Black, we did books, by Black creators, but these books should be celebrated year round. Same with anything, like if it's National Women's Month or whatever month it is, all of those, I don't know, I guess categories you could call them or classifications should be celebrated 365. You know what I mean? Like 24/7. And that I didn't even compute that this was Pride Month that we were reading this in, because like I don't necessarily always think about that stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's secondary. And I think that what I really love about the Black Hammer universe of characters is that a lot of them, first of all, a lot of them are analogs for other heroes, right? DC, Marvel, but Lemire adds a level of humanity to these larger than life characters that you don't see, that you don't really see from a Marvel or DC. And having this Martian Manhunter analog, Barbalien, he deals with similar stuff like John Jones from the Martian Manhunter. He also always dealt with him being the last Martian, but that's not the case for Barbalien. He left for a different reason. He didn't, you know what I mean? Like it's a completely different story. So and then in the whole universe, there's so many. All the spin-offs are always so fucking good. They're just as good as the main story. And not only is he being kind of not only is Barbalien like, he's dealing with homosexuality, right? Dealing with being on an alien planet and not being able to fully be himself in terms of his appearance, even also, right? But like, he was persecuted on his own planet for being gay. You know what I mean? So like, he's persecuted there, and he comes here, and it's the same shit, and it just kind of shows.
And for being peaceful,
right? So it just kind of shows that universally, people are fucking assholes. That's kind of what I take. People are assholes, and people will fucking hate you for the dumbest shit. It's really a deep look into that, into being yourself, being comfortable with who you are, and we see that from the first few pages until the end. And Barbalien is a different, I guess, man, right? Yeah, different man from the beginning to who he is at the end. He's more comfortable with being who he is, and it's mainly due to the relationship that he builds with, right?
Miguel, yeah,
with Miguel in here, and I really loved it, dude. I think it's like a book from the cover, right? And you would not have guessed this is what the story's about. This is what comic books can be, man. This is what superhero comic books can be. And the whole Black Hammer universe of characters, it's just every single one of them is so flawed in their own way, or dealing with their own issues that you don't normally see a superhero dealing with. I can't name a Marvel or DC character that has dealt with this, really, right? Yeah. I mean, like,
not like this.
Not in this way, man. And he really hits it home. He really takes, like, you connect with these characters that I don't connect with Marvel and DC characters necessarily the same way I've connected with the Black Hammer characters, because like, you really feel like this brings out real emotions when you read it and you're looking at it. And Gabriel Walta's art is just it's on a whole nother level. I discovered his art because of Magneto. Like, that was my introduction to his work. And then you look at what he did with Vision. I mean, my God, dude, he is just so talented, and I can't think of a better artist suited for this particular story. And it's great, dude. It's just a great story. I'm glad. Hold on. I'll full disclosure. I told Dylan before we started recording this that I had read this before, and it was one of those rare occasions where I read a book and I didn't fully absorb the story because I was just reading. I was just like looking at the words, right? Like, and I was glancing at the art, and it was late night when I read it, and I'm really glad I read it a second time because I remembered little parts of the story, but I didn't really absorb the full scope and heart of what this book is about. And it's amazing, dude. It's fucking amazing. And again, another Eisner nominated story, and it's easy to see why this book was nominated. And it's not all Jeff Lemire. The story is by Jeff Lemire and Tate Brombal, but Tate Brombal wrote the script. And I'm not familiar with him, don't know his work, but my God, can this dude write a fucking script? Like, his...
Everything right there, especially the dialogue. The dialogue, okay, it's a Barbalien story, right?
Yeah.
And, but it's not really about Barbalien being a superhero. It's Barbalien being a person.
Yeah.
Right. And like, it's mostly Barbalien being a person, because the only time we really get to see Barbalien as Barbalien is when he's transitioning, like when he more, because he's a shapeshifter, when he transitions from person to person, like he does the in between of going back into his actual being, right? And of course the trial on Mars, but like that's neither here nor there. But okay, the 4th and 5th chapters of this book, so meaning the 4th and the last chapter of this book, were the freaking most powerful of like this whole thing. Like, it didn't stop, right? Like, once you got to the apex of that 3rd act, like, you knew like it was about to get fucking heavy. And boy, did it get fucking heavy. It shifted from like, just a diverse paneling to all of a sudden, boom, 9 panels, right? We start getting the 9-panel thing. And I don't know about you, but like, I feel like Watchmen had its effect on me. So anything that goes into 9-panel all of a sudden gets really dramatic. And sometimes, I don't know if it was you and I talking about it, how sometimes 9-panel, the execution of 9 panels like varies. Like, sometimes it's the quiet moments that are suited for it's the quiet moments that are suited for the 9 panels, right? But this, once it shifts into 9 panels, like they really hit it, especially when they start going into like when Barbalien gets caught, and right before the moments that Miguel heads to the I think the church. They go to the church at the end. Yeah, when they head to the church, and it starts going into that 9-panel sequence, and like every third panel was a flash of light. So it was like, look, this is what's happening. Like it was really cinematic how they really executed the 9 panels here. Well, that's all Walta, and I mean, we already know he's good with the 9 panels because of Vision, right? It's class sequencing like that, and class writing, and amazing characters, and a topic that will transcend time, because that, keep in mind, all that stuff, the AIDS epidemic, it happened maybe it's 40 years ago now, roughly about 40 years ago, but that's really not a long time ago if you think about it. I was born in 85. You were born in what? 88? 89?
87.
Oh, 87. Right.
Yeah.
And it's really not that long ago. Like, that's something that happened within our generation.
Yeah.
Right? And it's still going on today. Like,
I know, and Tate Brombal, like in the afterword, he talks about that. You know, he's a gay man, and he even says, like, not often do you get to see he says a queer writer write queer stories. That's what he said in his afterword, and he talks about, like, you know, the AIDS crisis, it never ended. It's still going on. You know what I mean? And how hard it was to write the book, and he never even thought that, like, I was just glancing at, he never thought that this type of story would have come to be when he pitched it to Jeff, right? And the afterword is something that you should read. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty powerful what he says, and you know, he even goes on to talk about. I think
the character who steals the show in here is Miguel.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no,
Miguel,
for sure.
Miguel is the heart of this.
I agree. I mean,
he's the driving force of this entire story, and man, I love that kid, dude.
I know. I know. Just the words that flow out of his mouth are just, they're powerful, dude. There's a power to this book, and I love that Tate. At the end, he gives like comics, prose, and poetry, films, TV, theater, stuff that kind of talks about, that's related to the AIDS crisis, right? And I just, you know, it's really awesome. It's cool to see a creator that I've never heard of write such a profound and like affecting book. You know, like, now I want to read more by this dude. I don't know if he writes other comic books. Like, I'm gonna have to do more of the research. I only know from what I read in the afterword of, you know, his describing writing this book and how hard and difficult it was to write, and how he never thought that he would be given this opportunity to write this. And just goes to show you, Jeff Lemire, one of the best people in comic books, because he fucking took a chance, and he let somebody else play in his sandbox. And my God, look what we got.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
my God.
I'd be surprised if this didn't win.
I mean, I again, like, I can't remember exactly where it falls in line. Was it was it Jeff Lemire that got nominated as writer, and then this was in that? I can't, when we were looking at books, or was it this book that was nominated? I feel like it was this book. I find it hard to see a scenario where this book isn't nominated for an Eisner. You know what I mean? Because this is not your typical superhero fare. You know what I mean? Like, Black Hammer, you could say, yes, it is a superhero book, but different, right?
Yeah.
But this is not about being a superhero at all. It's nothing. Yeah. It's nothing about Barbalien fighting crime. You know, like, from the scenes to him, like, as a cop, because, like I said, he's Mark Marks, which is like John Jones, right, for Martian Manhunter. And, you know, like, he's a cop, and you get that fucking interaction with his partner, and how and it alludes to him coming on to him, right?
Yeah.
And like,
it happened in the actual book, in the Black Hammer series, in the original Black Hammer series, where they reveal what happened.
Oh fuck, I can't. It's been so long since I read it. I'm spacing on that scene, but
yeah,
it's just like seeing that, right? And there's no confidence in him. Like, he just feels it almost seems like he feels like he's in the wrong and he shouldn't be the way he is. Yeah. But because of that connection with Miguel, he's comfortable being who he is by the end. and he's completely comfortable with himself, and he goes against the cops. He doesn't give a fuck at the end. You know what I mean? Like he just like starts like fucking, like you see the switch flip in him, and you can see, and that's another thing. Gabriel Walta, the emotions he captures in the faces that he draws, and you can see like the anger in Barbalien's face, and while he's in human form towards the end, and it is just such a it's
a powerful book, dude.
It is. It's very powerful.
Powerful book.
Very powerful book.
It really incites the emotions. I mean, it's part of Jeff Lemire's little universe, so I shouldn't even be surprised, right?
Right.
But like it's Black Hammer. I mean, I remember. I know you remember how excited I was when I first read it and how I plowed through it. Right. I literally plowed through it, the whole thing in 2 weeks, and the fact that we got to read this, and it's not necessarily an origin story. It's not necessarily like it's not even a continuation, but more so it adds to the depth of the character that we already love. Barbalien was easily one of my favorites in the original Black Hammer series, but so was Golden Gale. I mean, all of them. I mean, Colonel Weird was surprisingly phenomenal. Like, you know what I mean?
Did you read that? You read that too?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was dope. I really liked Colonel Weird.
Yeah, Colonel Weird is good. Like, I'm really looking forward to Black Hammer Reborn, which we're gonna be reading. I don't know when. We will
have already read it.
Yeah, we will already have read Black Hammer Reborn by the time this comes out. And I also like the introduction of new characters too. Like we got to see Nightclub, aka Dr. Day. That was cool. That was really cool. I was like, yo, I did not expect that.
Yeah, dude. So, I mean, it's really dope. It's constantly introducing new side characters within these. Like, I think the spin-offs are just as good, if not sometimes better, than the main narrative. And that's not to say I don't like. I mean, Black Hammer already is like damn near flawless to me in terms of like the story and what Jeff Lemire does. But you know, Colonel Weird was really awesome. Dr. Star is still like probably my favorite Black Hammer book. We got the Skull Digger and Skull Boy that just came out in trade. I was gonna suggest that, but I figured let's talk about this first. But yeah, I think it's just his characters, dude. Every fucking book Lemire does. Yeah. It's just his characters are always the standout. It's not so much the actual story that he's telling or the plot. It's really the characters in his worlds that he builds. And dude, every book he does is fucking dope. And normally, if you would have told me like, oh, somebody's co-writing this with him, and I'm like, all right, am I gonna like it? I fucking liked it just as much as if Lemire had wrote this by himself. Like, it was that good. And it's rare when you see somebody kind of jumping in the sandbox. I know they're doing that with the Black Hammer. What's that miniseries that's coming out right now? All right, well, whatever. Oh, Black Hammer Visions is where, you know, writers and artists are kind of jumping in the sandbox. I've read most of the issues, and they're good. Don't get me wrong, but nothing has come to the level of depth that this book has done.
Yeah,
and I think that if you're a Black Hammer fan, if you're only reading the main series and you're like, I don't need to read the spinoffs, do yourself a favor, read all of the spinoffs, because anything that has the Black Hammer logo from the world of Black Hammer at the top of it, it's necessary reading, and it's always going to be a hit, dude. All of them are good. I've yet to read a Black Hammer related comic that was not phenomenal. And this is like right in terms of spinoffs, this is right next to Dr. Star for me as my favorites. You know, it's in top 3 Black Hammer graphic novels of all the trades. I think there's like a total of. So I feel like there's 8. I feel like there's 8 different books out right now. So, and this is it's right there.
No, I strongly suggest going to pick this up. I didn't know what I was getting into, but when I got into it, I fell hard, and I love every single one of these characters. It's a really fine piece of work.
Yeah,
it's a fine piece of work, and it should be nominated. And I would be surprised if it did win. If itself was the thing. There
is so many stuff. So many books that are nominated that it's like I can't even pick. Usually I'm like I can kind of guess. I'm like, oh, that's for sure gonna win.
Yeah.
but I can't. I don't know. Like there's everything is so good. You know, like last year when Mariko Tamaki won Best Writer, not to say that I don't think she's a good writer, but like I couldn't have picked her because it's like, again, last year's fucking the talent that they had nominated. It just seems like the talent gets better and better in terms of who's nominated, and it becomes harder to guess what would win. And I think that I feel like the voters, this is going to be like it's going to be a toss up. I think it's going to be down the line because this is such a good book, and it's like how do you not give this the?
We can vote. All we gotta do is sign up, right?
Oh, really?
Technically, yeah. I think I tried voting last year. I don't know if it counted, but like I just put in the Comic Lounge and I think it let me vote. ComicLounge.com because technically we are a media platform.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, get out there. We'll
try. We'll try to get out there and nominate. We're gonna nominate for you, the peoples. But but if you have an opportunity to vote, because I know some creators watch our stuff, you should go vote too.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I just think that comics is in an exciting place in terms of the content being put out. I'll separate the fucking speculator part of the industry because like I don't like that, even though I understand it's to the ecosystem of comics. But just it seems like comics just get better, you know, and it's not just the stuff that, you know, the Marvel or DC, because that to me it fluctuates, but the indie stuff being put out from like Dark Horse, from Image, from Boom, and, you know, smaller publishers, even going into the self-publishers, the people that I talk to, you know, from the Kayfabe Ringside Seats group, you know, like all the content that they're putting out, that they're just pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into, like they are putting out some quality content too. And so you go from the top, dude, from like the big two all the way down to the self-published indie guy, like the stuff that's being produced now, it's just such an exciting time. And I love being able to share stuff with people. And I'm glad that, you know, like that both of us can kind of share our love for comics with people, dude. And that's why no creator is too small for me to talk to, you know, on this channel. No work is too, it could have a print run of 10 and I will talk about it if I really dig it, you know. And I think that I'm loving what I'm seeing from comics, man. You know, I think it's awesome. My read pile only gets big because there's so much good stuff being put out.
Yeah.
You know, it's not all old shit that's in my read pile. A lot of it's new. So I think Barbalien is like one of those books where I'll probably revisit, a third time. You know, because like the first time I didn't fully absorb it. Second time it blew me away. And I think that, you know, that's a testament to the quality of stuff that Jeff Lemire is putting out with not just his Black Hammer universe, but everything he does is quality, and you want to read it again and again and again. And this is a hit, dude. 10 out of 10 for me.
Agreed, 100%. So I love Jeff Lemire anyway. There's like a book that I'm not really digging, but I'm gonna try to give it another go.
I'm gonna force you to read it because we're gonna do it for the podcast. Yeah, that's the only way. I'm gonna force you to read that shit, and then when we talk about it, I'm gonna sell you on it, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh, you're right, Ryan. Ryan, you were totally right. It is amazing."
Have you watched the show yet?
I watched the first episode.
I watched the first episode. It's very whimsical. It's a lot brighter.
First half of the episode, I was not really into. Yeah. Like it was kind of like a very slow build-up in terms of like what I was getting. But then the second half, I'm like, okay, that song that they used at the end, a little. Look, I like that song. Not in this scene though. It was a little too upbeat. Sweet Tooth is a little bit darker of a story. I get it. You gotta change it.
This is what I was telling people, like, because like we put a display up because we got the new Sweet Tooth with the Netflix logo.
I gotta say, I gotta bitch about it. I hate
that logo
when they do the fucking movie or TV show and they make the covers. We tried to order it at the shop, the old cover of book 1, and they sent us all 2s and 3s. And then when we're like, you didn't send us 1s, all they had left were the fucking TV show cover. And it's just like, come on, dude.
What I like about the TV show cover about this one is that it actually still remained the comic and they didn't switch it to the actual ad for the TV show because they did it with Deadly Class. They did it with The Boys. They did it with a couple of other things, but those are the two main ones that came off the top of my head. So at least they still kept the actual drawing, you know. But anyway, this is why I kept on telling people, like, if you watch the show and you like the show, I suggest you wait and finish to watch the whole show before you get into this one, because this is a lot darker.
That's what Nick said. That's what Nick's been telling people all week.
Yeah.
He's like, if you haven't read the book, maybe wait till after. Because like I haven't watched the next. It wasn't like a show that made me want to like, oh, I gotta watch the next episode like right now.
Yeah,
you know, because I watched it.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it is good. I think the actor that's playing Gus is. I think he's great. He's phenomenal. Yeah. The guy that's playing Jeopard, I like. But I don't want to get too into like my opinions on the show. We'll talk about when we talk Sweet Tooth, because because like I could go on a tangent. I've been talking about it all week. So
but anyway, I love Jeff Lemire. And you guys should go out and read as much Jeff Lemire as you can. He has a bunch of stuff out. Family Tree was fantastic. Descender would probably have to be like my number 2. like Black Hammer number 1, Descender number 2. I haven't read Descender yet, but I'm gonna wait. Like go out and read more Jeff Lemire. Like
dude,
Jeff Lemire.
And the cool thing about the Black Hammer stuff is you can jump in anywhere.
Yeah.
If it like, I don't want to say anywhere. Like you can't jump into volume 2, but if you wanted to like pick up one of the spin-offs, you easily could. You know what I mean? And I think if you haven't read any Black Hammer, you could pick up Barbalien first, and you don't need to know the history of anything. So go pick up Barbalien, go pick up Black Hammer. All of it is phenomenal. And dude, I just amazing. Jeff Lemire, in my top 10 writers writing right now. So that's all I got.
Yeah, same.
All right, cool. Well, if you're not already following us, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. Follow Dylan at The Dillbot on Instagram. Dillbot is dope on Twitter. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid goes up. And on that note, we're out.
Later, buds.